Matt Maiocco gave a very surprising Brandon Aiyuk update yesterday, and I think there's maybe more to it than a lot of people think. Plus, a complete travesty of justice from ESPN will explain on today's Gold Standard podcast. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. She is Michelle Maiocco. How are you doing, Michelle?
Hey, it's a Friday. I have my mimosa. My sister comes into town this weekend. She gets in a few hours. It's going to be a great day.
I was having a great day until I happened to see an article posted on ESPN.com that is literally making me want to rip what is left of my hair out of the top of my head. We will get to that in a minute, but first, we need to get to what Matt Maiocco said on KMBR yesterday. Of course, he's at the American Century Golf Championship in Tahoe, where there's all sorts of players and celebrities and hobnobbing and things of that nature. And he was asked about all that, and that's all well and good and fine. But he was also asked about Brandon Aiyuk and basically what's going on with Aiyuk's recovery. Said a couple of interesting things. I'm going to let you hear it.
I hear he's doing really well. I hear that knee is even ahead of schedule. And I know John Lynch always says, the thing about great athletes is they're great healers too, that they kind of defy the timeline of bouncing back from injuries. So from what I understand, he's doing really well. Also, from what I understand, is it's not out of the question that he could be ready week one, but also because there was more to it than just a clean ACL. It was ACL, MCL, and some other stuff that they want to be extra cautious with him.
Okay, that makes sense, but it doesn't really give us a lot of information. However, Maiocco continued.
Even though the timeline, everything being equal, might point toward, hey, there's a chance week one, and there still might be a chance week one. I think the feeling inside the organization has always been, don't take any chances. Start him off on PUP when they report to training camp on July 22nd, and then more than likely just have that carry over into the regular season. So, they really aren't even tempted to get him out there the first 4 games of the season. And then, it's quite possible that he could be ready week 5 or week 6, getting up to speed quickly. But everything I'm hearing is that things are looking good, and that the progress is even ahead of where the markers were that the 49ers put on him when he had that surgery.
Your thoughts?
This is what every team and player says at this time of the year when they're coming back from an ACL injury. It's always like they're ahead of schedule. They're running great, right? It doesn't ever seem to match up with what happens once it gets to the actual season, where he pretty much says that there's a really, really solid chance that he's going to start in the PUP to start the season and miss the first 4 weeks. And that'd be great if he could be back by week 5, but I could see this rolling into week 9, week 10, and being like, one more week.
Didn't sound like it was going to go that long, hopefully. It's just weird that he could be ready for week 1, but the 49ers are going to give him an extra month to get ready. Like, that doesn't sound like the 49ers we know and love, right? The 49ers we know throw guys back out on the field immediately. As soon as they're capable of it, they put them back out on the field. I will say, quick look at the schedule. Week 5 is the Thursday night football game against the Rams. If there was ever a game where they would want, all hands on deck, that Rams game is going to be massively important. It's going to be their 3rd NFC West game in the first 5 weeks of the season. We know they only won 1 game against the entire division last year. Especially, let's say if the 49ers, let's just say they lose to the Seahawks in week 1, they beat the Cardinals in week 2. Now you're 1-1 in the NFC West. You're playing the Rams. You know what happened last year in the division. If Brandon Aiyuk can go week 5, the Niners are putting him out there.
I think that's the week, really, the circle to see if he's actually ready. If he's fully healthy, ready to go, he should be out there. And if they can't beat the Seahawks and the Saints, the Cardinals and the Jaguars, I'm not saying all of them, but if they can't go 2-2 or hopefully 3-1 against those opponents, then their team's probably not very good anyways.
I would agree with that. But I am encouraged to at least hear Maiocco say that it doesn't sound like he's going to be out for half the season. That indication, the soundbite from me said, hey, he's not going to miss half the year. He'll hopefully be back before then. I did have one other thought, Michelle, just popped into my head. Some people seem to think that there are still lingering issues between Aiyuk and the 49ers. He's been at voluntary workouts. He's been doing everything you would want him to do so far this year. Is there any chance, though, that the Niners are using Maiocco to put this out there to tell other teams, hey, if you trade for Brandon Aiyuk, he's not going to miss half the season. Hell, he might even be ready for week 1.
Or they might be having it put out there being like, Aiyuk, you can't be, staying out all season long just to act like your knee's acting up and using this as, your anger towards us.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that. So you're saying the Niners are putting this out there to be like, hey, we expect you back at some point.
We expect you back pretty early too, is what they're saying. Like we'll let you miss the first 4 weeks. We'll get that knee ready, but we expect you to be back by week 5.
Interesting. Could be either of those two things. A quick glance.
I don't think they want to trade him. I don't really think that makes sense.
They want to. I don't know if anybody wants him. If you go to Over the Cap and you look at a post June 1 trade, the cap hit for the Niners would only be $8 million. We know they have the cap room. They got like close to $40 million in cap room somewhere in there. They're already paying the most dead money of anybody in the league. What's another $8.3 million, Michelle?
You're still selling him at the lowest point, right?
Yes, you are. Mm-hmm.
So just wait for him to come back. Hopefully he can perform. If not, I don't think you're really losing any value off of him because he wasn't performing before the injury last year. He then had that knee injury. He hasn't been back on the field since. You're still trading him for something way lower than if he comes back and can perform up to his level.
You're absolutely doing the thing you should never do, which is buying high and trading low. That is literally the complete opposite of what you want to do. It just popped into my head. And again, I don't even know. There have been so many conflicting reports about Aiyuk and his relationship with the Niners. And is he mad? Is he not mad? Some people think he is. Mike Garafolo of ESPN of NFL Media said that he's not. I don't know. But just was a thought that maybe they were trying to, or maybe it was just like, hey, let's just throw this out there one more time, just to be sure, in case anybody does want to trade for him. We'll put it out there and we'll see if there's any bites. You throw the chum out there and see if you get any nibbles.
This also could very much be that we are, July 11th, a terrible time for content, and he needs something to talk about, and he pretty much told us nothing. He could be back for week 1. They're going to probably make him sit for the first 4 weeks. He could be back in week 5. He could be back whenever. I mean, we got really nothing from that.
Take that, Matt Maiocco. Michelle doesn't like your reporting.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not saying I could do any better, but he has to come up with stuff to report right now and talk about. And there's not a whole lot.
There was a couple of 49ers at that golf tournament where Matt Maiocco is. Kittle's out there. Juszczyk is out there. There's an article in The Athletic from Kyle Juszczyk. He was interviewed while he was out there by Vic Tafer. And he talks about what it was like when he got cut. And he gets cut and people are, sending him, hey, loved working with you. You're so good. He said it was like a living funeral because everyone was telling him like how much he meant to them. And then 3 days later, he was back on the team.
I just got a call from my wife. I'm sorry. That just distracted me from listening to you, but you're talking about trades and I wanted to hear your thoughts. I'm kind of going off the rails here. I want to hear your thoughts on the baseball trade where they're in the middle of a game and the two teams traded players on opposite teams.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was just like yesterday or the day before where there was two teams literally playing against each other in the MLB and they did an in-game trade. Like the trade went through as they were playing each other, but it was for those two teams. So the players just basically had to swap after the game, I guess. I don't know if they like went home with the team. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it looks like it was Dodgers and Brewers. That is not uncommon, believe it or not.
Really?
A Mariners fan, and the Mariners and the Yankees once made a trade for Ichiro, one of the best players in Mariners history, while they were playing one another. And so Ichiro basically just walked to the other locker room. I was actually at Ichiro's first game as a Yankee because it just so happened that he got dealt and I had tickets to the next game. And so, yeah, it's a weird thing. I appreciate you not listening to me at all and just completely grabbing the steering wheel of the show and just turning us into a bridge embankment.
You're welcome.
Oh, is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's good. She just needed to know the flavor Celsius that my sister likes. You can yell at her later.
That is what was so important.
I think she forgot I was recording the show.
I made a salient, intelligent, interesting point about Kyle Juszczyk that is completely ignored because your wife needed to know about flavored seltzer.
I didn't know you were talking about Kyle Juszczyk, so that makes a lot more sense now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I will send her a text message later. No doubt about it. All right. Let's get to the next thing. Speaking of things that are going to aggravate me, let's go right from your wife interrupting the show to something I saw on ESPN.com. And look, like you said, this is peak, somebody said something, let's react and get mad about it time. But when somebody misses a layup, I do get mad. And this appears to be a layup. So every year, ESPN.com polls executives and coaches and scouts, and they rank different positions. Tight end has popped up. This is from Jeremy Fowler. And they rank the tight ends. And somehow, Michelle, George Kittle is not number one in terms of tight ends. Brock Bowers is number one. Your thoughts?
I mean, I didn't read the article. I'm going to say, I just looked at the list, but there is nothing he can honestly say that's going to make any sense to me. Right. Because there was 3 tight ends that hit 1,000 receiving yards last year. It was Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and George Kittle, right? But George Kittle was only less than 90 receiving yards away from Brock Bowers while getting 60 fewer targets on the season, running 150 fewer routes. And if we saw George Kittle get the type of workload that Brock Bowers did when he was younger in his second season, 136 targets, still a good chunk less than Bowers. And guess what? He actually did amazing. It was 1,377 yards, right? That's a lot different than Brock Bowers' 1,194. And they both had terrible quarterback situations during that time. So I don't want to hear it. I just cannot fathom a reasoning why Brock Bowers is better than George Kittle at this moment.
So to be clear, this is not Jeremy Fowler's rankings. This is the results of a poll of executives and scouts and blah, blah, blah. I don't unless you don't care about blocking at all. Because if you want to say Brock Bowers had a better receiving season last year than George Kittle, you could make the argument. But
you can't make the argument.
I think that it's not a good argument, but at least you can make.
But even in receiving yards per game, Kittle beats him. In yards per reception, Kittle beats him. In touchdowns, Kittle beats him. The only thing that he doesn't beat him in is the actual total receiving yards, and it's by 88 yards. He had played 2 fewer games against 60 fewer targets.
Yeah.
There is no argument to make that he was the better receiving tight end last year.
It's a pretty flimsy argument, but put that aside. The blocking part of it is not close. And that's half the job of a tight end. And I get that some tight ends are basically receivers. It makes no sense to me. The only thing I could think of is if you're factoring in the contract, right? Because obviously Brock Bowers is a lot cheaper than George Kittle. George is the top of the market and Brock Bowers is on a rookie deal. But yeah, I don't understand it at all. Let me read you what it says about Kittle. Kittle is aging well. Yeah, he had arguably his best year last year. Quote, he's coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with a combined 14 touchdowns during that span. 50 of his 78 catches last season went for a first down. His premier blocking remains unmatched, and he's still tough to bring down, leading all tight ends with 14.2 yards per catch. Here's a quote from somebody from an AFC scout. He's shown that when he's healthy, he's the most complete player at the position. Durability is the only thing that's really affected that. He embodies San Francisco's culture, and that's why they keep paying him. It's not like George Kittle misses 8 games a year, though. I don't get this at all.
There is no argument for it. Like, there is no logical reasoning, unless they're just completely saying youth takes over, right? We're going to take, if they're saying who would we draft right now if we were restarting a franchise at their age, fine. Maybe you can make the argument for Brock Bowers, right? Because you lose a good 9 years off of, maybe even more than that. So like that makes sense to me, but I guess you would have to weigh the age so much.
George Kittle missed 2 games in 2022. He missed 1 game in 2023. He missed 2 games last year. And last year, I think one of those games that he missed was the final game of the year when they were already out of it. Like, George Kittle doesn't have injury issues. It's like, I don't get this at all. It's maddening to me. It's so hilarious that George Kittle is ranked where he's ranked. If he got the targets that these other got, Trey McBride or Brock Bowers, he would be blowing them out of the water. But
he leads the NFL in yards per target over the last 2 years among all positions. Tight ends are not supposed to do that.
I don't know what people
listen to these other guys who got their the top 4 guys in receiving yards. Actually, let's go with the top 5. It was Bowers, McBride, Kittle, Jonnu Smith, Travis Kelce, right? And Kelce had 823 yards. That's a drop off from third place Kittle to Kelce is nearly 300 yards. But that's besides the point. These other guys in the top 5, their yards per reception, 10.7, 10.3, 10.0, 8.5. George Kittle's at 14.2. That is a good wide receiver yards per reception. It's crazy.
And I don't understand, like, even I'm looking at some of the other comments. So Trey McBride is number 4. Trey McBride's a really good player. One NFL coordinator said he's the best receiving tight end out there. He's a hard cover even for elite corners. Like, again, based on what? Like, by what metric are we talking about? How is George Kittle doing this if he's not an elite receiving tight end and if he's not a hard cover? Like, do we think other teams are just forgetting he's out on the field? Are they falling down when they throw him the ball? Like, what's going on?
It is kind of crazy to look at this list and just see like how weak the tight end position is in the NFL. It's really, really hard to find an elite tight end.
You've got Bowers is really good. Kittle, obviously. I think Sam Laporte is good. He's 3. Trey McBride is 4. Kelce's 5, but Kelce is really old. Like, even I put it in 49ers in 5 the other day. Brett Veach, the Chiefs GM, was like, yeah, he can't really do it every game anymore, but he summons it up when he needs it. It's like, ooh, okay.
Like, we're thinking George Kittle's old. He's 4 years younger than Kelce.
Yeah. And then you've got Mark Andrews is 6, TJ Hawkinson 7. Like, the rest, after you get to, and I would argue put Travis Kelce in this group now at his age, they're all kind of the same once you get to 5.
It's crazy that number 8 is Isaiah Likely. Like, that's how weak the tight end position is right now in the NFL.
I'm surprised they have Dallas Goedert at 9. I kind of like Dallas Goedert. I would put Goedert ahead of Likely.
I think David Njoku. See, the whole explanation for George Kittle about the injuries, I think you could put that on David Njoku. I think he is a really good tight end. He's had really bad quarterbacks and a lot of injury issues. So Njoku is the guy when he's on the field and healthy, he's great. But the injuries, so that would make more sense for his write-up. But I do think he's a little too low here.
Your boy Pat Freiermuth from the Steelers made honorable mention.
Yeah,
he's a really freaking good football player from an NFC scout. That is like the perfect Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah,
he is.
He's nothing special, but he's a good overall guy. I don't know. He's exactly Heath Miller, who I love.
Who would you like preferred Steelers tight end, Heath Miller or Pat Freiermuth?
I'd go back to Heath Miller, but I think they're close. I just love it was Heath and now it's Muth.
Oh, I didn't know that they did that for him. That's funny.
Because he's literally just the same exact guy as Heath Miller. You're never going to be like, you're never going to put up huge numbers, but you're going to be consistent. And when you're called upon, you don't really mess up. Yep. Right. And that's exactly what Freiermuth is.
And I think that's a lot of tight ends, by the way. And oh, by the way, 49er fans that got mad at me. Michelle just described Brent Jones to a T. Because I got in trouble from some 49ers fans because somebody described Brent Jones as a 49ers legend. And I was like, Brent Jones is not a 49ers legend. Good player, but not on a franchise that has Joe Montana, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, Leo Namalini. Like, no, Brent Jones is not a 49ers legend. And some of the people are like, you don't know, man. Brent Jones was awesome. No, he was a good player, never made a first team All-Pro, fine player, not a 49ers legend.
And there's a lot of those guys that were just like really solid. They're good. You need those players. To win Super Bowls, you need those players. There's many of them at every single Super Bowl team. You can't just have a team full of all-stars, but you need to have guys that just don't F up, really. Honestly, that's like what it comes down to.
Oh, here's a question then. Who are those guys on the 49ers? Probably Juwan Jennings, I think we would put in that category.
Oh, I like this question. Let me pull up the depth chart just so I have it in front of me.
Right, because, part of depth, when we talk about depth, is having guys like you just described, guys that can do it when called upon. And how many of those do the 49ers have, or is it just the elite of the elite and then nothing?
Yeah, I honestly, when you look at this, it's Juwan Jennings. Like that. I think that perfectly matches him.
Mm-hmm. You would have said Jordan Mason, but he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone else, it could be some of these rookies we don't know, so you can't say them yet. There's really nobody. I mean, there's nobody else that you can name.
Are you talking on the offense, the defense, or everywhere?
I was talking everywhere. Maybe Diamador Lenore, but I think he is getting up there to like being a top 10 corner.
Yeah, I think he's like almost above that sort of tier.
Yeah.
Can Renardo Green be that? That's my hope. Like, please just be that. Be a guy that, an average guy, a solid player. He doesn't have to be, a lockdown corner.
Maybe that's what Colton McKivitz is making himself right now.
Which is crazy to say when the hate that Colton McKivitz once got, and I'm including myself in that because God knows I've torn into him a few times. But I kind of agree. I think he last year kind of showed that he's sort of, he's working his way up to that, which is crazy because he was public enemy number 1 for a while.
But that is the worry with this team, right? Because they have all-stars, a lot of aging all-stars. I mean, they're almost all aging, right? Besides, well, no, that's not true.
We all are aging. So yes, that's an accurate statement.
Fred Warner's still in his prime. Brock Purdy's still young. So I guess, but they have the elite all-stars with a couple aging ones. And then just all question marks outside of that, basically outside of Juwan Jennings and Colton McKivitz.
You could say that the success of the 49ers in the future doesn't necessarily depend on how many of these young guys become ultra superstars, but how many of them become just solid players. Mm-hmm. If you somehow get a bunch of them to just be really solid NFL players, you're going to be pretty good. Like, you still need stars, but you're going to be damn good. But if they end up being the Ty Davis Price, Trey Sermon, Danny Gray, those type of guys, then we're screwed.
And there's been way too many of those.
Yeah, sadly, yes. Okay, Sean Turner in the comments. What the hell, man? Quote, Rob seems like the kind of guy who falls for phishing attempts every single time. Why? What did I do?
I don't know what you just did, but I like it.
Oh, I'm out here, just trying to host the show. Damn it. Okay. Couple other things I want to get to. Brock Purdy on Bussin' with the Boys. Did you watch the interview? It was incredibly long.
No, I didn't.
I don't blame you at all. Most of it was rehashed stuff. There's a couple little things in there. The one kind of thing I like about Bussin' with the Boys, and to be fair, I don't watch it that often, but they do get people comfortable. They do get people very conversational. And there's definitely value in that, especially when you're interviewing somebody who, doesn't necessarily give the media a ton of stuff all the time. But Brock Purdy was talking about, like, him as a player, and they were talking about first pitches and just kind of shooting the breeze. And he asked a very interesting question, and I like Brock's answer. Here it is.
Would you consider yourself an athlete?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Elite? 1% of 1%? One of 32
honestly,
quarterbacks
dude,
in the
for
league?
being real, like, I like to dunk and sprint and all that. Like, honestly, no, I'm not. I'll be real about it. But like throwing and like the hand-eye coordination things, yeah, I would say pretty elite.
I freaking love that answer from him. Like,
It's just such a silly question to ask if you're an athlete. Like, yeah, you're an NFL player, you're an NFL starter, you're one of 32 NFL starters, and you're one of the top paid ones at that as well. Yeah, I think you're one of 1% of the world. I don't know.
well, yeah, if you're comparing yourself to the general population, absolutely, you're in the 1%. But if you're comparing yourself just to that 1% of athletes,
Oh my God.
I thought
That's a whole different question. Yeah.
I thought he was realistic and honest, though, where he was like, physically, in terms of running and jumping, no. But I loved that he was like, in this one part of the job, I am elite. I love the confidence. It's one of the only times I've heard Brock Purdy talk like the way he plays and acts on the field.
I love confident quarterbacks. And you know what I was thinking the other day? We always talked about these shower thoughts. This is my shower thought the other day.
Good.
I can't think of many quarterbacks, if any, who are great and winners that are not like, I don't know what the right word is, like that do not come off as a cocky, not even like, but there's like a very confident quarterback on the field that's loud, that gets excited. There's really not many guys I can think of that are good. Like, I was thinking if I was a team, I would actually want to shy away from these guys, because think about it. They were talking about Daniel Jones. I was listening to a podcast, right? And now Daniel Jones might stink overall, but also I just think his personality was never going to fit an elite quarterback. Like, he just doesn't have the personality for it. There's no like no emotions there. I also think it's a reason why Trevor Lawrence struggles in the NFL. He just doesn't have enough, like, I don't know if it's anger or if it's excitement or if it's something, but I truly do believe that's why Baker Mayfield has made it this long in the league, because of like, just like his aura that he gives off and the energy he gives his teammates. That does matter.
Antonio, YouTube channel member for 24 months, 2 years of support. Thank you, Antonio. Please become a YouTube channel member if you can. It's less than $3 a month. Antonio says Brock isn't afraid to give himself credit. That is true. But I like him saying it out loud, but that's a good point, Antonio. He has never given us the impression that he's just aw shucks guy. As you were asking that question, there was only one quarterback that popped into my head right away. And it's sort of a weird paradox, because I'm going to say Eli Manning. You got to call him a winner because he has 2 Super Bowls and he beat Tom Brady twice. But if you look at Eli Manning's career record, it's 500. It's 117 and 117. So like, you're kind of wrong because he won 2 Super Bowls, but also he lost as many games as he won during the regular season. So I totally get your point.
And also, now that we know him, I mean, he's the funniest dude, right? I can see his teammates really. I think a big part of it is just building that like energy for your teammates. I don't know if Eli Manning like gave that energy on the field or whatever, but he is hilarious. I think he's the funnier brother out of the two.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
He's very funny. But yeah, and again, if you could just think of one guy, right? It seems like such an important factor to a quarterback. You have to have that type of mentality when you're on the field. Like, yeah, I'm great. And what are you going to do about it? And don't mess with, like, you just kind of have to have that. And if you don't, it just doesn't seem to work. But also talking about an athlete with Brock Purdy, not only is he, he's a pocket passer, right? He's known for his throwing. He still had the 11th most rushing yards among quarterbacks last year. And he missed 2 games, right? So I don't know. I think he is very, very athletic.
He ran for 5 touchdowns too. I actually led the Niners in rushing touchdowns, which is staggering. Wedge Antilli says, Michelle, it's called it. Brock Purdy has it. Those other quarterbacks you mentioned don't have it. That was a thing that came up a lot in the 2005 draft when it was the Niners had the number 1 pick, and it was Alex Smith and it was Aaron Rodgers. And it was like, in terms of personality, those are 2 completely different. But Alex Smith is humble and quiet, and he might have a confidence, but he doesn't really let you know it. Aaron Rodgers is complete opposite. Aaron Rodgers is like, I can put the ball through an invisible keyhole and just get out of my way and let me work, And of course, we know what happened. The 49ers ended up drafting Alex Smith partly because of the personality. That was definitely a factor. And clearly they made the wrong choice. As much as I dislike Aaron Rodgers, you can't say they didn't you can't say they made the right choice.
One's a journeyman and one's going to be a Hall of Famer, first ballot. So yeah. But do you think Aaron Rodgers would have had the same career if he was drafted by the 49ers and had to start right away? Or do you think him getting to sit behind Brett Favre for that long actually helped him?
I don't think I'm sure it helped, but I don't think he would have been a journeyman quarterback. But because he sat behind Brett Favre, now he's Aaron Rodgers. Like, he didn't learn how to throw sitting behind Brett Favre, right? He was always capable of throwing the ball the way he can throw it. And I say the same thing about Mahomes, because people are like, oh, he sat behind Alex Smith for a year. He was still Patrick Mahomes. The first time he got in, he threw 50 touchdowns in a season. Like,
Mahomes would have been fine starting right off the bat, because he already had. I do think part of it comes down to having a good team, having good coaches, having good structure, right? Because if you get drafted to a team, it can ruin your career. Like, I do think there's probably a lot of guys out there that if they were drafted by a different team, their career would have been 100% different.
Yes.
Because if you get drafted by a bad team, a bad organization, bad coaching, and you just get thrown out there to the wolves and you're getting sacked, I do think that could just ruin your game altogether and you can't get back to it. So I do think that's happened to people. But when it comes to like Patrick Mahomes, I don't like, he was already with too good of guys, with too good of a coach, that it wouldn't have mattered that he sat the first 16 games of his career or not.
Right. I agree with you. And in fact, I think Alex Smith is a perfect example of a guy that can elevate his game when surrounded, by a better situation. I think Aaron Rodgers, when he was young, not now, but when he was young, was the opposite. Like, I think he would have been great anywhere, because in any system, because I just think he's that incredibly talented. And the question that people always like to say with Brock is, which one of those is he, right? Is he a guy that can thrive in any system? Is he a guy that needs a good system around him? I don't really like answering that question, because he's in this system. So, and he ain't going anywhere, especially now that he got paid. So it doesn't matter if he couldn't do it somewhere else. He doesn't have to do it somewhere else. He's got to do it here.
Yeah, and you can ask that about any quarterback who hasn't changed teams. We don't know. The answer, I mean, there's other guys you would feel a little bit better about. Like, I think Lamar Jackson would probably be fine on most teams in the NFL, if not all of them, right? Like, the way he plays. But we also do not know that. We don't know if he started his career somewhere else, would it have changed? We'll never know about any of these guys.
Filthy Casual says, Brock is confident but aware of his weaknesses and where he needs to improve. That is one thing about Brock that I do enjoy. Like, when you ask him, like, where do you want him to improve? He usually has an answer, and he usually tells you what the answer is. I do think he is aware of those weaknesses, and I do think he's trying to work on it. And I think it will make him a better quarterback. And I think that sometimes the guys that don't have those gift from the gods athletic ability are more self-aware. And so, like, more willing to admit their faults and where they need to work on stuff, because that's always what they've had to do in order to get to where they are in their career. When you're somebody that's just blessed unbelievably, you don't always have that. Not saying that you never do, but you don't always have it.
I mean, you can look at the difference between Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy, right? Or Kyler Murray's clearly always been the best of the best at every level he was in. And he was given a God-given talent at, his mobility, his arm strength, everything. I mean, it was probably just so easy for him. And then the work ethic has just been different. And just being able to call yourself out and not, when you're losing, not pouting on the bench or not willing to go back in, right? Because Purdy has dealt with that stuff, I'm sure, before, not always being the best of the best. So, yeah, you can see the differences there.
One of the many reasons you should be excited that Brock Purdy is the quarterback in San Francisco. By the way, yesterday with Johnny Dell, we did a film breakdown of the safeties, but in the second half of the episode, we broke down Brock Purdy a little bit more, talking because of some of the things that Brett Coleman said about how he is the system. And Johnny had some really cool examples of Brock sort of doing the mental gymnastics before the snap and how he was basically maximizing everything that was there to be had in the system. It was really cool. I actually made it a separate video. It's in our video section on the YouTube channel if you want to go and watch it. Not now.
This is our time.
That's right. But please go and check it out because it's really cool. Johnny does incredible work. But it's funny. Everybody, whether it's in Tao or whatever, they're all talking up the vibes. They're all talking up Brock Purdy. And I do think that this year is going to be like, we don't have to dig ourselves out of this hole, right? We're at 5. We're not under 500 anymore. We're not coming off the Super Bowl loss. I think everybody's just going to be a lot freer. And I think it's going to help. I think there's a chance they could be really good, Michelle.
There is a chance, but every team right now, every fan base right now is talking themselves into, they're going to be really good. There's a shot. This schedule gives them a true shot. And then we just went through that depth chart about guys that we feel are very solid players, not elite, not going to mess up. It's a very few amount of guys at this moment. We have to see what these rookies turn into, what these young guys turn into. And then obviously they still have their elite players. This season, I will not be shocked if they go 11-6 or 6-11. I really won't be. Like, I don't know where I lean towards either side.
God, they better not be 6-11. I can't take another year like that. I can't.
Well, it'd be really, really bad this year because of the opponents they have to face. That means they're just real bad.
Right.
And that probably means Brock Purdy's really, really struggling.
Yeah, I would be shockingly disappointed if he struggled. I know, the fourth quarter numbers are what they are, and he needs to improve. There's no doubt about it. In one-score games in the fourth quarter, Brock needs to be better. That is a fair thing you can say. But also, he's still really early in his career. Like Peyton Manning always talks about how he didn't even win a playoff game until his 6th year. Like, these things do take time. No one's a finished product, and Brock is not a finished product yet. And hopefully the product in 2025 is better than the product in 2024.
And I think it will be.
I hope so. God, let it be better. Wedge Antilles says, I'm pumped for the Texans game, taking the whole family for their first NFL game. There you go. You can meet up with Wedge Antilles.
Definitely. If I go, for sure.
Oh, now it's if you go? I thought you were
it's a 1:00 game on Sunday. I got to try to get it off.
Yeah, that's right. For anyone that doesn't know, Michelle is a researcher for NFL Network. I will give some props to Levin because he usually does the instant reaction shows with me on Sunday. Well, this year he has to work week 1 on Sunday, and he called out of work. He took a vacation.
Nice. Love it.
To be there for the instant reaction show at the end.
I love it.
That is respect. And I can't wait to start doing those instant reaction shows again. Last year, Michelle, they won 1 game down the stretch. Every instant reaction show was like depressing. They beat Tampa Bay coming out of the bye, and then they only won 1 game the rest of the year.
It's so funny because after week 1 of last year, I was like, they're right back where they started because they just beat up on the Jets so easily.
Week 1
week 1 this year is going to be huge against the Seahawks.
Yeah, no soft landing. Like, you got to hit the ground running because you need that damn divisional win. We'll see if they get it. That's going to do it for this edition of the show today. Thanks, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. If this is your first time checking us out, please subscribe and come back. I promise you will like what you see. We're live every single weekday. During the season, we're live basically 6 days a week, if not 7. So trust me, it's the perfect time to hop on board. And we'll take this ride together. I think you'll enjoy it if you do. Michelle, tell your sister I said hello. Tell your wife not to call during the show anymore and interrupt things. But I hope you have a fantastic weekend.
I hope you do too. Bye, y'all.